Howdy folks, John here. Think I got a neat one for you today. We're reviewing the smallest GPS-enabled collective pitch RC helicopter currently on the market, Fly Wing's FW200. We'll look at the overall design, features, and of course get it up in the air to see how well it flies to help you decide if it's a heli worth investing your hard-earned coin on. I want to thank Banggood for sending me this amazingly cool little helicopter so we can all have a look at it. As usual, product links along with any discount codes will be down in the description. Let's get started. The Fly Wing FW200 came double boxed, which is nice, added protection there. And marketing is calling this a smart Acro helicopter. You can say whatever you want about that. Very nicely packaged, well presented. Now, I'm not going to go down the slippery slope of GPS collective pitch RC helicopters. You guys can battle that discussion out in the comments if you wish. As an RC instructor, most people know my view on them. I'm not a fan at all, but I do appreciate the technology. So I will be giving an objective review based on that and of course how it flies. Hopefully suppressing any of my personal opinions. Now, let's get this thing out of the box. Ooh, she's packed in there nice and secure. Boy, that looks sharp. So we'll look at that in just a bit. Let's see what else we get. We get a very basic transmitter. This uses 8 channels. What else? Some extra sacrificial shaft knobs. We'll go over that as well. Holy crow, a really nice quality 1.5 millimeter hex drive. Not some cheap 2-cent Allen key that cams and rounds out the first time you use it. So that's nice. You get a decent little tool. And what do we have here? An actual charger. It will do 2S or 3S battery packs. Oh, and it actually plugs in. You don't power it with a USB cord or anything. It actually has an actual wall plug. So we're going to get the battery charging up here right away. Don't see the battery, so it must be inside the helicopter. The Fly Wing FW200 comes in 2 color formats. They've got a black, light blue, and gray. To me, this would be a bear to see when you're far away. And they've also got this really bright fluorescent yellow and black. It's a matte finish, so it's not glossy. That kind of looks cool. It's a very angular canopy, nice flat bottom. It's mounted with the customary, grommets and metal pins, and there's a little tongue up front that slides into this little slot. So easy canopy removal. Wouldn't hurt, of course, to put a little silicone grease on the pins. Ooh, it's actually fiberglass. I was expecting it to be polycarbonate, so that's a higher end feature. Good looking canopy. This heli states it's a 200 size, so let's confirm that here. Bolt hole to blade tip, exactly 200 millimeters. So this is true to size. Comparable popular helicopter would of course be the OMP M2, but this isn't GPS. One of my favorite helicopters in this size range, and very similar design actually, but the Fly Wing FW200 is larger. It's a little bit bigger. Just like the OMP M2, the big benefit, of course, is direct drive. Very quiet, very efficient. We've seen that before in all the other direct drive helicopter reviews I've done. Oh, it comes with the battery, which is good to see. Slides in on this little plastic tray and a little clip, so it's easy to change out. Let's just check this battery out. It's a 3S. Oh, it's not Velcroed on. It's double-sided taped. That's weird. Well, I'll be ripping that off. Anyway, 3S 850 milliamp, 45C. It's an actual decent brand name, Tattoo. Before charging this, let's just check the size. So if you've got any other 3S packs, you'll be able to know what kind of size you're looking at. It's about 30 high, about 60 long millimeters, and about 20 millimeters, 21 wide. What's nice with the tray instead of a holster is you are not stuck with one battery size. You've got options there, which I like. hate proprietary battery packs. And there's certainly enough room up in the canopy to fit something longer in here. In fact, Banggood sells a 1500 milliamp hour pack for this thing. The only thing I'd be concerned with is this Heli is already a little bit nose heavy. Let's get this thing charging. So it's got a XT30 power plug. It's nice to see an AB clip on the balance plug. Protects the wiring a little bit from pulling out. So just plug it in, and the little LED changes from blue to red. So we'll let that charge up while we finish looking at this thing. Overall, just a very clean design. One of the nicest I've ever seen. Of course, the brains of the unit is the H1 V2 GPS system. Zero skill, hands-off hovering experience. You don't have to learn the balancing act of hovering, which takes all the fun out of the hobby as far as I'm concerned. But again, we'll suppress any opinions here. GPS antennas in the top. Flight controller, flybarless system sandwiched in the middle, and ESC is at the bottom, and it's just all in this little plastic case. And then on the back we've got a visual system as well. So if you're outside, this will use the GPS satellites, but indoors you can also have a hands-off flying experience with the laser and the camera. So it uses a little infrared laser, bounces off the floor to give it its height, and then the camera detects movement over the surface. For it to work, the surface has to have some texture in it, so the camera can see it. You know, it can't have reoccurring patterns or be really reflective, so it has nothing to base its movement on, and it'll only work up to about 2 meters. It's a pretty big heli to be flying indoors, but in a larger area certainly would be okay. So we'll just start from the head down. Full metal head. It's nice to see hash marks, so you can set your 0 and plus and minus probably 12-degree pitch on this. Fairly stiff carbon reinforced plastic blades. DFC rotor head. Full metal swash. Again, just like OMP's. Almost looks like the same swash plate, in fact. And as is getting more customary now, we've got a single piece central core section, which contains the bearings for the main shaft, and of course the mounts for your 3 ECCPM servos. They're placed in a traditional 120-degree format, 2 up front, 1 in the back. Decent quality servos, GWD H200s, metal cased, coreless motor, digital of course, metal geared, and then of course the brushless direct drive motor, super quiet, super efficient. Now one of the neatest design features is this sacrificial hub. Not only does it make changing the mass super easy, it should save the motor. With that said, I've had blade strikes on all my brushless helis, and they've never done any damage to the motor. Yeah, you might bend the shaft. So it's got a little screw. It's got some thread lock encapsulation on it, which is nice. Don't have to worry about it backing out. And then this just unscrews off the bottom of the motor barrel. And there's 2 little flats on the shaft, and they just ride on these 2 little flats in this hub. And that's what's providing all the torque. And this whole shaft assembly will just pull out now. So super easy to change the shafts. My concern is how easy will this cam out? And I think it will be fairly easy. Just the slightest blade strike, and I'm sure this will cam out. But that's your sacrificial mechanical fuse. Get that put back on and put our screw back in. So very easy to work on. Not a fan of carbon fiber skids. These tend to crack quite easily when you come down hard. I much prefer having, you know, flexible nylon skids. They're a lot more forgiving. This, of course, is a more expensive way to do it. Looks good. Full carbon frame, of course, stacked. Teardrop shaped aluminum boom for strength. Looks good. I'm still kind of a fan of carbon booms myself, but I know these don't crack as easy. You can bend them back, but they bend a lot easier than carbon. I don't find them as strong, but each to their own. One of the nicest executed tail rotors in the business, in my opinion. So clean, not one exposed wire anywhere. The motor is well protected as well. Motor's bolted onto the back here. This is a plastic assembly. Strong, stiff, easy to change out. Tail rotor is mounted to the brushless direct drive tail motor with 2 screws, so we won't get any slippage there. Interesting, we didn't get a spare tail rotor. I don't like seeing this, the antenna hanging down like that. That's going to get crushed by the skids, so I'm probably going to move that up to the boom here, so it's hanging down a little bit higher up. And the receiver, it's using an SFHSS protocol receiver, so Futaba protocol. One thing I'm not overly impressed with is the wire management here. It's just all loosey-goosey. Could get caught in this one servo, doubtful, but I'm probably going to zip tie these wires. The radio that comes with the ready-to-fly version of the FlyWing FW200 is quite basic. The bind and fly version, which Heli Direct has, I don't know if Banggood will be bringing them in, is about $50 less if you don't want to get this radio. Of course, setting up a GPS system with a computerized radio, quite involved, certainly something most beginners aren't going to be doing. So we'll just focus on this radio, and I will be flying this Heli with this radio. Now, this thing isn't the greatest. It does feel like a toy radio. The stick feel is really bad, very soft and mushy. Poor centering, and what's really interesting is the collective centers. So you don't have an indexed or friction collective. It self-centers, which is going to be very difficult to fly in 3D mode. I don't even know if I'll be able to do it. For GPS though, it makes perfect sense. Push up, the Heli goes up, center it, it locks on that altitude. Out of the box, it's in mode 2, so we've got collective on this stick, tail rotor, cyclic roll, cyclic pitch. You don't have to worry about batteries for this thing. It comes with a little single cell LiPo pack at 1200 milliamp hours. And it charges through a USB-C port. I pulled the cover off the back of the radio just to have a peek at it to see if we could disengage that self-centering collective. And yeah, you could just pop the little spring off here, but it would just be loosey-goosey then. It does have a friction band slider on here, and it looks like 2 spots to mount a friction band, but there is no band, so you'd have to make up your own if you wanted a friction sliding collective or throttle stick. Could be done. Looks like our pack is finished charging. The light has changed from red to blue. So let's just check out how this thing charged up. See if it's over or undercharged any of the cells by a gross amount. So cell 1, 4.19. Cell 2, 4.19. Cell 3, almost 4.2. Nothing wrong with that. Good little charger. If you're curious what flying weight is, with the 850 milliamp hour 3S pack installed in canopy, we're sitting at 358 grams. Let's call it 360, 12.6 ounces. Before flying any pre-built RC helicopter, I strongly recommend to do some basic mechanical checks on this. I always check these items. I check the fasteners for thread lock, and really impressed with the FlyWing FW200. Every fastener I've checked has been properly thread locked. The blade grips themselves, the bearings aren't overly preloaded. They're nice and smooth, there's no notchiness. The head axle had sufficient thread lock. It's also lubricated. There is zero slop in the servos or the swash plate. Everything's nice and tight, really well put together. The one little complaint I have with it, or concern, is the fact that the blade grip bolts, the little screws that hold the blades on in the blade grips here, they just thread into a threaded lower portion of the blade grip. They don't thread into a lock nut, and there's 2 problems with that. First is you have to ensure you thread lock those screws every time you remove them and replace them, otherwise they will back out over time and you'll toss a blade. If you keep on top of it though, it's no big deal. The bigger problem, of course, is if you over tighten them over time or cross thread them and you strip out the threads in the blade grip, you've got to go blade grip shopping over just replacing a lock nut. But other than that, well put together little helicopter. I'm just going to quickly show you the power up sequence on the FlyWing FW200 before we head out to the flying field. That's just easier to see on the bench here. And also thought we'd check the out-of-box setup to see if they set it up as well as they assembled it. So we turn the radio on first, as is customary. Let it beep, it's ready to go. Now we can plug in the helicopter. It will go through an initialization phase, both for the ESC and the gyros. You'll see it stirred the swash plate and pumps it up and down. Don't move the helicopter at all while it's doing any of this. You'll notice that the blade spun actually backwards. Don't get scared about that or anything. That was just the swash plate causing that. When it's stirring at those tilt angles, it's imparting prying forces up to the blade grip, and that's what's causing the rotor head to spin. As far as setup goes, at mid-stick on our collective, can't be anything but with this little radio, seeing that it self-centers the collective. Oh, it's going to be weird trying to fly it. Anyway, servos are all centered, all three of them, which is good to see. And our swash plate is perfectly level front to back and side to side, indicating the helicopter is going to be in good trim right off the bench. So that's set up really well. Now let's check the collective range. First we'll check if it's producing 0 degrees at mid-stick. Not quite. If it was, these blades would be exactly at the same height when they're folded side by side. This is actually producing a little bit of negative pitch at mid-stick. Probably about -1 degree or so. And if we look at the hash marks, we can confirm that as well. If you look really closely, I don't know if the camera's picking this up, but the center hash mark on the rotor head is not quite lining up to the hash mark on the blade grip. You can tell there's a little bit of negative pitch in there. Not enough to cause any problems though, really. And we'll check the collective range. What's nice about these blades is they're just wide enough at the root to fit a standard digital pitch gauge. Okay, so at center stick, we're producing about -1 degree of collective. Ideally, you'd want to be at 0. That is adjustable in the application, though, if you wanted to play with it, but this isn't bad enough. It's still very flyable. So full collective, so pushing full up on the stick. We're producing almost 11 degrees of positive collective, and pulling full down, producing about 9.5 degrees of negative collective. So the collective range isn't quite perfect. It's a little lopsided. Ideally, I would recommend starting on this heli with your initial setup at -10, 0, +10. But certainly flyable. We'll see it out at the field. Flying the Fly Wing FW200. Actually, we're not flying. The electronics are. We're just along for the ride. Just waiting for the GPS system to acquire the satellites. That's why the little green LED is flashing. There we go. That was actually a long process. It was about 5-6 minutes. So this is hands off. I'm not doing a thing. Now we're getting a little oscillation now. There's an error rate building. So that's not good. And in case anyone's going to ask, yes, I have calibrated the compasses. Let's get it back under control here. Pretty windy out as well, so it's a good test for it. Well, it's not doing it now. It's pretty decent. So there's the yaw rate when it's in full stabilization mode. That's how I would set up a student's helicopter, so nothing wrong there. We'll give it some cyclic, full forward, full backwards, very robotic. It's quite sluggish feeling. So that's full cyclic. So fairly docile again. It's about what I would set a student's helicopter up for, just with a normal helicopter, normal stabilization. We'll give a full climb out to see how fast it ascends. Pretty docile. Here's a full descend. It doesn't like that wind. So yeah, very, very docile and gentle. Anyone could pick this up and fly it, no problem at all. you know, it doesn't feel good flying it, but no GPS system does. It doesn't like this wind at all. It's hopping. Coming downwind, a lot better. But really notice how quiet the direct drive motor is, and that's the beauty with direct drive, is just how quiet they are. Okay, so we're going to try the Acro GPS mode. So we'll switch it into that. The head speed got higher. Now to flip it, you have to give it a quick right cyclic command and recenter the stick, and you have to be at least 3 meters off the ground. Sorry, I lost it. When it's in the easy Acro invert mode, it reverses all your controls, so they remain the same as if you were flying upright, which is totally counterintuitive to how I usually fly. I want to be pulling down to go up, but that is hands off. Hopefully that's all in frame. I can't tell, but I think it was. Completely no skill involved flying a collective pitch helicopter inverted. Unbelievable. That's holding it pretty steady. Now the question is, how do we get out of this? I think we're probably going to have to be at least 3 meters high as well. So let's go up. Oh, I'm pulling, yeah, I just want to naturally pull it, stick down to go up. Zoom out, and let's just put it this way. Okay, so quick cyclic to the right. Bloody hell, I still think that's funny. Comedy relief. Okay, let's go into normal gyro or 3D mode. See if we can do a little bit of aerobatics. It's so hard with a self-centering collective stick though. Tail holds pretty decent. Doing those pitch pumps. Oh, it blew out there. Okay, we'll try a forward flip. Not bad. Try it backwards. Try it roll. Fairly easy to see. Yeah, so if you paired it with a decent radio, not bad. It would not be bad at all, actually. Doesn't feel as nice as an M2 though, there's no way. But that's not what this is for, right? This is for beginners who just want to pick up a collective pitch helicopter and fly it with zero skill. So not really, the radio is certainly not meant to fly 3D with a centering stick. Stick feel, by the way, very mushy around mid-stick. You know, it's got poor gimbals, so there's a lot of dead band. It's very vague feeling. It'll be nice to pair this to a proper radio though and see how it behaves. So we got the third and final battery pack in. I've just got my keychain there to see if it returns to home pretty much in the exact same spot that it lifted off. And note the direction it's facing. It's facing roughly east. I just want to see when it comes back to home here if it also lands in the same orientation, in the same heading. So we're just going to go out to the corner of the apron here. Oh, it doesn't like this wind at all. And I'm going to face it. There, we're facing due west. Okay, hit return to home. Just going to show you the radio. So just this little toggle up here. And I'm not touching a thing. So first it gains altitude, probably about, if it's anything like the H1, about 50 feet. And that's just to overfly any obstacles that might be on the ground. Boy, it's windy out, but it's handling it fine, so it's a good test for it. It's easily blowing 20k today, probably gusting up to 25. Oh, it's getting its heading back, so it's pointed east again. And that's bouncing is just the wind. That's not anything to do with the stabilization system. That's 100% wind. When it calms down, it goes completely away. You can't tell me that battery's dead already. So it landed about 2 feet away from where it took off in the exact same heading, and it automatically powers down as well. Didn't do a thing, didn't touch the radio. That is impressive technology.
Later that night.
Quickly showing how well the visual positioning system on the Fly Wing FW200 works. As you can see, the little green indicator is flashing, meaning that there's no GPS signal. It's using the visual sensors for positioning. I'm a little concerned on the concrete. There's not enough surface variation for the camera to pick up the movement, but we'll see. Pops up in the air. No problem at all. Totally hands off. I'm a little concerned flying something this large indoors. I normally wouldn't fly anything larger than a 150 inside for safety reasons. This thing certainly got enough power to make you bleed if it hits. I'm just pushing full up and it stops exactly at around 6 feet, 2 meters. I'm pushing up, it's not going any higher. But I have to say, the positioning inside works better than the GPS positioning. Really impressive, actually. That is awesome. But again, would not recommend flying anything this big indoors unless you've got a really wide open space. And specifically if you're a newbie, no, I would never fly anything this large inside. I can certainly appreciate the appeal of this little heli for some folks. With that said, please understand, any collective pitch RC helicopter with GPS autopilot will not teach you how to fly a collective pitch helicopter. So as long as you are aware of that limitation going into it and simply want the easiest collective pitch flying experience possible, then the Fly Wing FW200 is a good option in my opinion. The overall design, quality, and factory assembly of the FW200 is indeed impressive. One of the best I've seen on any ready-to-fly model. And it's a good-looking little 200 to boot. After a dozen or so flights, everything is still tight with no loosening of parts or component slop, with the exception of that sacrificial main shaft rotor hub. There's already some slop, as you can see here, developing. Now, the included radio for GPS flying is fine, but totally inadequate once you turn the GPS autopilot off. I usually bitch about low voltage warnings not coming on soon enough to prevent battery damage, but on this particular FW200 I got, the LV warning is overly conservative, with stage 1 sounding when the packs were only about 50% discharged. It's not a big deal, but I wish there was a way to adjust that. Average flight times with the 850 milliamp hour packs I'm using range from 4 to 5 minutes. A good deal shorter than I was expecting, considering a direct drive OMP M2, Logo 200, or Ishin E180 will all get upwards of 8 minutes with similar flying styles and power output. Now I was going to go over the FlyWing FW200 setup app in detail, but that would add too much time to an already overly long review. I'll just say it works well and is easy to understand. With that said, there's very little tunability with only the most basic settings like head speeds and servo centering and collective range. No gain setting adjustment at all. So that pretty much wraps up my FlyWing FW200 review. Again, there are links below in the description if you want to check it out. Thanks for watching, folks. We'll see you next time, and happy flights.